Kia ora koutou, and welcome to this Māpō Tama Mata Whenua Practical Māori GIS Mapping Whānanga series for 2023. This is our first. So today we're going to be having a look at mapping tools that some of us have been using over the past couple of months with the extreme weather events, particularly in Tairāwhiti and Tamaki Makaurau and other areas. So this is a document that we use to share with you links to useful information, and I'll just put this onto the chat so everyone can access this. And also it's live, so we can fix up any errors and we can add new stuff to it. So we're going to have a look at some of these links, and you're welcome to follow along, or just in case I've put editing on this, if you can just avoid deleting anything. We'll start with near real-time imagery. So in the event, in the after event of Cyclone Gabriel, most people working in mapping were looking for imagery, for ways to contribute, looking at the before and after. So this website, Sentinel Hub, capturing imagery at about 2 meters per pixel. So when we zoom right down and in, you can see what I mean. It might be 10 meters per pixel, but I think it's 2 meters. Depends on the satellite and the imagery that we're looking at. So I found this particular one really useful in finding free, real-time, near real-time imagery. Let's have a look at how we use it. So if we zoom out a bit here to Tairāwhiti, and I want to use this example just here of Horo Station, because on the face of it, this one looks like, holy cow, what's going on here? But what we can actually do is we can use this tool to examine the landscape and a bit of change over time. So if we jump forward to today, or the most recent image, here's the most recent image of this area, 12th of April, 23. And if we go back to just after the 14th of February, let's try this one. We can we click this one? You can see there's cloud on these couple of dates, total cloud on this date. We can see here there's quite a bit of bare land. And we look on the face of it, we look at that and we think, holy cow, what's going on here? Because first impression might be that it's all eroded, but in fact there is some erosion, but we can investigate what's going on here over time. If we go back to 28th of December last year, we can see that there's some work going on here, and there's these interesting straight lines. So that kind of indicates to me that maybe they've been doing some either drone or helicopter or airplane-based weed spraying. So what we can do, and what I'm going to do with this, is I can now just take a copy of this. So I'm just going to go Shift, Windows Start button, and S. And then I'm going to draw a box like this. So I'm going to capture this image because I want to put it in, paste it into a Word document or into a PowerPoint. But in this case, I'm going to bring up the snipping tool, or whatever we're using these days from Microsoft, because I want to save this one. And it didn't pop up just then to let me save it. Where is he gone? There it is. So I'm just going to keep that one there. And now I'm going to go and have a look in here and just click through looking at these dates. You can see there's total cloud cover that day. And remember we had Cyclone Hail. Was it Cyclone Hail? H-A-L-E in January. It's probably about then. So we can go through and we can have a look at the cloud cover what have we got here? 20th of January. So this is before Cyclone Gabriel. One thing I want to have a look at is what is the change in the awa? What does the awa look like? So you can see this picture here. That awa is actually looking pretty nice. You can see there's the rapids. You'll see them by this because it's quite a drastic change after the cyclone. So let's zoom out. Let's have a look at this. Going forwards one. Forwards another one, 25th. This is the end of January. So to access this, there's no sign-in. And you can just click on that link as I did from that short URL. So where are we coming up to the cyclone just before? During. And this one, this is during and after, I think. So we can see that awa there is quite changed. It's no longer blue and white, full of mud. 16th, 19th. And if we come down in here, we can see there's quite a bit of, that's no longer just a nice thin awa, quite a bit of change. So within this is just the visible range. This satellite also captures things that we can't see, such as infrared. So if you've ever, those sensor lights or cameras that you can get now for home, they have an infrared light, or this will capture that same band, so we can't see it. But in that infrared, outside of that visible range, there are different parts of the light spectrum that can be useful to us. And so you can see quite clearly in this infrared range the difference between vegetation and types of vegetation and places where there aren't vegetation. So vegetation is reflecting quite bright red. And there's kind of differences you can see between these bare earth kind of areas and mature forest, and then regrowth and other areas that are depending on the health of vegetation. So that's one site where you can get free, near real time, a day or two old imagery for everywhere in Aotearoa. So just to demonstrate that, if we come up north, very quickly have a look and see what's available for whangārei. Swap it back to neutral colour. And same thing, we can go through and we can have a look. This is coming more into March. You can see there's probably light cloud on those days, but we can have a look and see what's happening on the whenua. So that's one place. The next place I want to show you is where to access more detailed but less frequent imagery. So this link here goes to the LINS data service. So that is how LINS makes available all of their data pretty much. So you can access property data, address data, roads, topographic maps, anything you can see here on the left. Topographic maps that you go hunting with, hydrographic maps for under the sea, all kinds of data, and elevation is another one as well. So if we have a look here, there is some very recently released. What I've done is I've sorted this by recently added. So it always brings to the top the most recent imagery. So you can see we've got some Gisborne 0.1 meter. So that means 10 centimeters. So while we're just looking at 2 or 10 meter resolution imagery, this stuff is 10 centimeter imagery. This imagery here for Gisborne, if we come out, just come and have a look here, what happens when we add this? We can see if I turn on and off Hopefully you can just see the difference in there. Oh, it's quite good. It's quite a lot of coverage. So you can see this would have been a plane flying over, not a satellite. A satellite would take a big swath or width, but this is likely a small aircraft. And if we go down here and have a look, we can actually zoom in quite far with this imagery down to be able to recognize cars or some of the features. And there's another one here, North Island 0.5 meter cyclone Gabriel imagery. So this is from a satellite as well. We're going to have a look at this one in a bit more detail as well. This covers most of Tairāwhiti down through Kahanunu and down into Wairarapa. So this is just after the cyclone, so we can see, I'll find you one that will come to a couple of times. Just near Tolaga Bay, we come inland. You can see there's a whole bunch of forestry slash just here. That plus this little piece here I worked out is about 5 hectares of forestry slash that's piled up against the trees there. So this is a good source for imagery. And this is really the kind of the national repository for free open imagery for Aotearoa. It's a bit clunky to use if you're not a professional GIS person or just wanting to know, just interested only in my whenua, in my blocks. So then people like Tanya and I and other GIS mapping professionals will create applications with this data. So most of the times when you go to a council website, they'll use this data, they'll use some of their own data as well. So here's an example of, we have a look at this one called 3D fly-through of the East Coast. This one uses that data, but puts it in a slightly different, hopefully more user-friendly format. So you're welcome to follow along and have a to-do on your own computer if you want. What I'll do is just show you how it works, and then maybe we can have a look at a couple of areas together. So this is before and after of what I've just called interesting places along the east, up and down the East Coast before and after Cyclone Gabriel. So it uses that imagery from LINS, Toitū Te Whenua, straight from that data service, and allows you to see before and after. So if we have a look here, what I've got on the side here is a whole bunch of bookmarks that unfortunately there's no rhyme or reason to how they got there. I just sort of did them as we went. But when we click on one, we can have a look at the before and then after. And it adds the pictures in there. So let's find a couple of more easy to recognize ones. So here's, you can see there's a bit of a slip there. This is before. So this picture was probably taken in 2021, 2022. And then we can go after. So what this one does is bring through that imagery from Toitū Te Whenua, and you can see there's a new lake there. The wānanga has slipped down a bit. You can see the difference in the awa. And there's a lake. Here's another one here, Aorangiwai landslide. I don't know if it's called that, but that's what I called it for this. So you can see here, nice, normal, pleasant looking valley before and then after. So you can see parts of that hillside have slipped down. So you can go in and you can examine what's going on here. I'll give you a tip here. You don't have to keep coming back to these shortcuts. You can actually just come over here on this layer and turn them on and off. So you can go before, after, before, after. So before, we can see there is a small lake there. After, it's gone. Before the cyclone, we can see the kind of level of slippage and erosion. And then after, you can see there's been a massive slip down through there. If we have a look at one or two more, So here's that area we were looking at just before on the other imagery. And you can see there, when we zoom in quite close, beautiful stream. Looks like it would be amazing to visit. And I just called this Wainakia uplift, because I thought it was quite substantial change here. So you can see when we click this one, we go before and after, we can see there's significant change here, and the base of the base rock of the stream has lifted quite a lot because of all the material that's come down through the hills. You can turn it on and off here. You can also see the slips that have happened just over this side. And I just want to have a look at Kōrero Station while we're in this area. You can see when you look at it from straight down, looking at it like this, it looks like it's been weed sprayed and there's probably not too much erosion going on here. So we can see there, yeah, that's probably just been weed sprayed. It's probably the topsoil is bare. But then we come to a place like this part and we can see, oh, what's going on here? Yeah, so you can compare before and after. But if you turn it in 3D, turn it around like this. So what I'm doing is I'm just using the right mouse click. And here we can look in a bit more detail in an area that we might be interested in. We can see actually what's happened there is quite a bit of that maunga has slipped down there. And there's another part just on the other side here where we can come and have a look. And you can see kind of in parts like this where the soil has been bare and you'd expect it to run off, but it doesn't look too bad. The soil doesn't seem to have moved in here. But if we come over here just a little bit further, just in this part, we can then see the before and after. And things to keep in mind are how we're interpreting this imagery, the time that it was taken, the time between the two photographs, what happened immediately before this event, which of course was two cyclones, and then also where the imagery is now. So this is showing us a snapshot in time. So that there's lots of other ones in here. Let's have a look and just see. Get one more. In Esk Valley, we've all seen on the news quite a bit. Beautiful little valley through here, just north of Hastings, Napier. And if we go on here, Caravan Park before. I don't mind for any of these namings. I just sort of you're trying to find what to call some of these areas. So you can see there before and after. In this case, the 10 centimetre aerial photos have come on. So we can turn those on and off as well. There's a layer over the top, which we've not come across before. And then we've got the imagery, the satellite imagery from just after as well. So you can see here what we're looking at is kind of like a pizza of layers. There's the original aerial photo that we're looking at the moment, and that's probably taken in 2022, 2021. Then we've got the satellite image of immediately after, day or two after there was a couple of clear days. And then, so that's from satellite. You can see the level of detail here is, it's a bit coarse because it's 50 centimeters per pixel. But when we look at something that's 10 centimeters per pixel, we can see you get quite a bit more detail. And you can identify quite a few more features in there. So you can see, sort of quantify the damage. It's really, I think it's great of Tauti Te Whenua to capture this imagery and make it available as a permanent record of the effect. Let's see if there's any others in here. There's basically just things that caught my eye. Let's find this one here, slips on no tree hills before. This one's quite fascinating for me. being able to quantify, okay, you've got no trees on those hills. After, you can see it's a no-brainer. That, you know, that kind of approach is, you know, doesn't work out well during the extreme weather we've been experiencing. So let's have a look at how we can present this type of information to other people, to trustees, and StoryMaps, to friends, whānau, to councils, to, you know, any kind of situation that you want to make information available for some purpose to convince people of, or to share a story. Let's have a look at this one. So this one, it's on looking at Horohoro Station, but it's just because it's quite a massive land change in combination with a cyclone. So as we come down here, 3rd November versus 3rd December, come down to the next one. So this is just two images captured before and after. So you can kind of use this to do some intelligence gathering of and interpreting of what's going on the landscape over time. And so what I did here is I went through and I collected up all of the relatively cloud-free imagery that was available. So you can see here, there's a bit of before and after going on with that awa there. But when I slide across the actual whenua, there's not a huge amount of change, except for in little places just down here. You can see there's a slip there. And there was that main slip just there in the middle of the screen. So this is one way to share that with other people. So how do we do that? Let's go and see if I can just edit this one. No, I don't think I can. Okay, so how do we do this? First thing we need is a before and after image. So if we go, let's see, what's a good one? Useful one, I'll just hide that. Let's go this one, before and after. Okay, it's a different, do you see how that perspective changed? It's annoying that I did that. Before, after, is it the same view? So we can find one that's a bit more tilted. Slash dam, Tokumaru Bay. Let's go and have a look at this one. After, before and after. So you can see the mud and wood is caught there, and there's a bit of a backlog. So we can zoom out a bit, and we can come over here and we can turn that on and off. So we don't have to change so you can see it's quite a really obvious change here. So we don't have to use it in 3D. What we'll do is we'll capture before. So I'm just going to use that combo of the Shift, Windows, and S. In this case, I'm just using another wee tool just to capture that for me. So if I capture this as a picture, and I'll just take a snapshot there. It's on my other screen. And we turn that imagery on. And then we don't move the map as much as possible. And well, we just try not to pan at all. And we try and capture in that same area. But I've still got that open. That's not good. Let's cancel that. Close that. Try to do this capture again. So you can do this really easy with Shift, Windows key and S, or the snipping tool. There's many other tools you can use. Okay, and I'm just going to grab that. So now I've got the two pictures here. You can see they're kind of lined up. So I'm using a tool called Snagit. And if I just go save. So on my desktop, this one, save. Also on my desktop. And now if I go to the StoryMaps tool, so StoryMaps you can actually create for free. So you'll need what's called an Esri public account or a free account. But if we just go to storymaps.arcgis.com, you can use, like I do, use your Google login to sign in. Go in here. And so these are some other stories that I've created. But what we're going to do is create a new one, just so I can show you how easy it is once you've got those two pictures to make one of those swipe things. So start from scratch. So a story map is kind of like if you imagine a feature article in newspaper, magazine, where you can scroll down and the story reformats before and after the cyclone. And tell your story, some kōrero on here. You can go add. What am I doing here? I'm adding a swipe. So this is that back and forth part. I need to pick what image I want for the left-hand side. So I go to my desktop, which is where those ones were. And now I just try and figure out where it was. Here's the before. Open, add. And then add the image on the other side. So now I want the after image, which hopefully is this one. These image sizes don't match. Okay, but they're close enough for my purposes. You can see there's a slight offset, but that's okay. So I can add a cover image. I can change the style, the fonts. Let me see. Let's just use this image here for our header. It's actually an animated GIF. How to create a before and after swipe. Let's see, maybe that one's not loading. Oh no, it is. It's just a large graph. So now if I go preview, I can go see what this looks like. It's just saving the looks of it. Okay, what's going on here? I think my picture was too big. Preview, yeah, that picture is too large. I'm going to just swap out that image. But I might. Go. Replace that large GIF, animated GIF, with just a. I'll just use this one. Go replace. That'll work quicker. And now there's a button up here that's publish. So if I go publish, and if I make this, see, I can make this within the ArcGIS system, I can have it private just to me. Oh, what's going on here? Let's go back in there. I must have clicked something and then it caught up with me. If I go publish, I can go private just to me only. Organization, so if I had an ArcGIS Online account with Tanya, I could share this with Tanya. Or in this case, I want to share it with everyone, including yourselves, so I can make this available to you right now. I think it's probably going a bit slow because of that, that animated GIF that I didn't realize was going to slow it down so much. So now we have a story map that's published, and it's published it with that animated GIF in there. And we have the swipe in there. There's no kōrero or anything in here just yet, but we can do that after. So what I'm going to do is put this into the chat to everyone. And if you want to try clicking on that link, it will open it on your side in the same way that you've just seen it on the screen there. So just we can have a look at, there's StoryMaps, there's Lynn's data service, have a look at that. We've created a before and after, showing you the Sentinel there. What I'm going to do is hand over to Tania, who's going to have a look at some options for how to access census data, demographics data, other data. And of course, both of these types of data can be overlaid within the same types of maps. But I've kind of done the, the visual Whenua 3D imagery type focus. So now I'm going to hand over to Tania, who's going to have a look at the demographics side.
Oh, kia ora, Dwayne. So, yeah, I'll be talking about some of the demographic data that's available and showing you some of the applications that are available to view this data and where to find some of the data. So, as you all know, we're doing the 2023 census at the moment. And there's quite a few outputs that come out of this, including quite a bit of demographic data. And I thought I'd just quickly show you all stat lists. So the Geospatial team have already mapped some of this data from the previous census, and this is sort of the hub where all our maps and apps are available from the data we have at stats that we have mapped. So I'll just quickly show you the population density and diversity in New Zealand story map. So to access the map, I just go to view full details and then go into view application. And I can just hide that. Okay. So I don't know why it's a bit slow. So we have this lovely map here, and I'll just go to my neighbourhood out on West Auckland. So just go through to Gleneden. And unfortunately, it's quite scale dependent. So as we have here, we have the ethnicity groups, and one dot represents 3 people, and it just kind of is a good way to just give you a quick overview, visualization of ethnicity in the area and the distribution. So yeah, so this is one of our maps. And another key output that we have is the deprivation index. So the deprivation index, it's a measure of socioeconomic deprivation for areas, and it's based on 9 census variables. And excuse me. And it provides a score from for each statistical area 1 from 1 to 10, with 1 being the area with the least deprived scores and 10 being the area with the most deprived scores. And I'll just quickly go over to the app that we've got available. So this is a really cool dashboard that Dwayne made, and this is based on, this has the deprivation data in it. Oops, and I've managed to flip the map. So it's so we have this chart on the slide, and it has usual resident, and also if we go to this tab, ethnicity of Māori, and if we, so I'll zoom in closer. So if I apply the legend, so this app here shows the deprivation index and the deprivation scores themselves. So if you're wanting to look for that sort of data for your area, and if we zoom into Gleneden once again, my neighbourhood, you'll see those stats changing as well, and that bar chart changing. And if we zoom to this level, we can see the actual deprivation scores themselves. And this legend on the side here gives you an indication of that scale. And you can also, so if I click on this essay one here, there is also a pop-up with the other 2018 variables from census. So again, this is a really, really awesome tool that does visualize the deprivation index. And we also have another deprivation index that has been developed by the University of Auckland. And this one is the New Zealand Index of Multiple Deprivation. So you've got the usual, the deprivation index I just showed you before, which is just purely based on census variables, but then this index is based on a wider range of variables and data sources. So this chart here is really, really great. I'm kind of outlining what the index and the sort of data it's based on. So it contains 29 indicators, and they're grouped into these 7 domains. So employment, income, crime, housing, health, education, and access. So you've got data coming from Ministry of Education, New Zealand Police, from Health, have some data from MSD, and all these different data sources. So that is also another alternative or data source that you may want to use to have a look at some of those, like that demographic information. And next, I'll just quickly go over to the ArcGIS Hub. And the reason why I'm showing you this one is because it is a place where you can download the deprivation data. So if you go over to data, well, I should say that you can download it in a GIS format. And with this, I find it easiest to go statistical area plan. Right, so here it has the data set for the Census 2018 and the deprivation index. Hopefully it loads. Here we go. I don't know why it's a bit slow. Right, so this is pretty cool. Again, you can, the map itself does have pop-up boxes and you can see those variables. But I think the beauty of this one is that you can download the data set. And you have a couple of different download options. So if you are using Pro, you've got your geodatabases, but if you are using something like Google Maps or something, do have your KML option. Right, so the next app I'll quickly show you is our geographic boundary viewer. And this is more to do with, I guess, our geographic boundaries and our statistical boundaries, but it's just good to know it's here if you need to quickly view those. But we do have available the geographic boundary viewer, and if you do need to have a look at the boundaries themselves or regional boundaries or anything like that, you can have a look at this, use this tool. And it does have all our different geographic and statistical boundaries sitting on here for you to view. So if I just, yeah, so you can use different, look at different years and see any changes if you just need to see the boundaries themselves. To see the actual demographic data we have the StatsNZ StatsNZ data service or StatsNZ geographic data service. So this one really is our site or our data hub where you can download not only the boundaries but the actual census and demographic data themselves. And it is also a place where if you do have the data in a spreadsheet and you want to actually join that data to the boundaries to get it into that geospatial format, you can download those boundaries from here. Right, so I will Google and trying to find some census data. So I'll just grab this one. Say if for some reason you want to look at the population mesh plot by 2013. So to add it onto the map, just click this and you'll see that it adds it onto the map here, and you've got this sort of list of layers because you can actually add multiple layers at once. Say I want to, I'm like, okay, that's too big. I don't really want the whole of New Zealand, Aotearoa. I just want to know what's happening around near my marae Whakahuia. So I just really want to know those stats from around Upinone of Māpere, that part of the Hokianga. I can just select that area. If I hit this crop here, and then I hit edge crop, and then I can export it, just that area there. And then again, you can choose what file format you would like to export this information in. And we have range from map info tab down to geodatabase and KML. And if there's any other file format you do need, please feel free to let us know what it is. We can help out. So you just choose that, and then you hit create export, and it will then ask you for your coordinates ID. So that is one thing I forgot to mention, aroha mai, that this platform itself is actually built on top of the coordinates one, and I know probably many of you have used the coordinates website. So yeah, you can just use if you have a coordinates ID, you can just use that one to log in to download the data. And you can also sign up to create a coordinates ID through these tools to Statlist, which I mentioned earlier, the boundary viewer, and the data service, which I just showed here on this geographic data and maps page on the website. That's me. Thank you all very much.
Kōrero.